Have you ever noticed how two people can look at the very same thing, a sunset, a painting, even a single day, and feel something completely different? One calls it the end, the other calls it peace. It's strange, isn't it? How the world stays exactly the same, yet our hearts color it differently. The sky doesn't change its hue for one soul and not the other. The sun doesn't decide who deserves warmth and who deserves the chill of dusk. Still, somehow, we each walk away with our own version of what we saw. A story shaped not by light or shadow, but by what lives inside us. There are days when everything feels gray, when even beauty seems distant and unreachable. And then, there are moments when the simplest things, a quiet evening, a drifting cloud, feel like miracles painted just for us. Perhaps what we see is never just the world outside, but a reflection of the world within. Today's story is about two painters who stood before the same sunset, yet saw two very different worlds. One saw the fading of light, an ending filled with sorrow. The other saw the birth of calm, a promise of rest. And when they compared their work, they discovered a truth that would forever change how they saw not just art, but life itself. Stay till the end, because this story might change the way you see everything. In a quiet village nestled between rolling hills, the world always seemed to end in gold. Every evening, as the sun dipped beyond the valley, the rooftops turned amber, the trees caught fire in the fading light, and the air held that hushed kind of stillness only beauty can bring. Two painters lived in this village, Elias and Rowan. Elias was known for his solemn, introspective works. His paintings carried the weight of silence, shadows, and thought. He painted not what he saw, but what he felt. And lately, what he felt was sorrow. Life had not been kind to him. He had lost someone dear, and though the seasons kept changing, his heart had stayed in winter. Rowan, on the other hand, painted like sunlight. Every stroke of his brush breathed warmth and wonder. His canvases captured laughter, wind, and hope, the gentle details most people overlooked. To him, even imperfection had beauty. Every crack in the wall was a story, every dusk a lullaby. One evening, the town elder announced a small exhibition, a challenge of sorts. Tomorrow, he said, the valley will host its most radiant sunset of the year. I invite our two painters to capture it in their own way. The theme is simple: the sunset over the valley. Elias accepted quietly, out of courtesy more than passion. Rowan smiled, already imagining the glow he would chase with his colors. Neither man knew that this simple request would lead them to a truth deeper than art itself. That night, Elias sat by his window, staring at the dimming sky, wondering if he still knew how to see beauty. Rowan, meanwhile, cleaned his brushes with a light heart, whispering to himself, "Tomorrow, I'll paint peace." And so, as dawn approached, two hearts prepared to see the same world. Through very different eyes, the next evening arrived soft and golden. The air smelled faintly of pine and dust, and the valley shimmered like a sea of quiet fire. Elias set his easel near a weathered oak, his strokes heavy and deliberate. Rowan painted a few steps away, humming softly as the colors danced beneath his brush. For a while, silence ruled. Only the whisper of brushes against canvas broke the stillness. Elias painted the sun's descent as a fading ember, tired, lonely, swallowed by the night. His canvas darkened quickly, the tones of crimson and brown whispering loss. Rowan's strokes, however, told another story. His sunset sang with life, lavender skies, soft gold, and the promise of renewal. Where Elias saw an ending, Rowan painted a beginning. As they worked, a gentle voice broke the silence. An old traveler, leaning on a wooden cane, stood nearby watching them. His beard shimmered silver in the sunset's light, and his eyes held that kind of calm only found in those who have seen many worlds. "What beautiful opposites," he murmured, stepping closer. "Two sunsets, one sky." The painters looked up, startled but curious. The old man smiled. "Tell me," he asked softly, "which of you has painted the truth?" Rowan chuckled. "Surely both of us." "We painted what we saw," Elias frowned. "No, the truth lies in the shadow. The sun dies each evening. There's nothing joyful about that." The old man tilted his head. "Ah, perhaps neither of you painted the world. Perhaps you only painted yourselves." His words fell like pebbles into still water, simple yet endlessly echoing. Before either could respond, the man turned toward the valley and began walking down the hill, disappearing into the growing dusk. That night, neither painter slept. His voice lingered, unsettling and wise. "You only painted yourselves." Elias could not shake the words from his mind. "Perhaps you only painted yourselves." They echoed in the stillness of his home long after the night had swallowed the last light from the valley. He sat by the window, staring at his canvas, its dark shades of rust and brown, wondering if it was indeed a mirror, not of the world, but of his own heart. Across the village, Rowan too lay awake. For the first time, he questioned his own work. Was I too blind to the sorrow that shares space with beauty? His bright colors, his endless optimism, were they honest, or just a veil he'd painted over life's truth? At dawn, the two painters found themselves walking toward the same oak tree where they had painted the day before. Neither planned it, yet both arrived at nearly the same time. There was no competition in their eyes now, only curiosity and a quiet need for understanding. Rowan was the first to speak. "Do you think the old man was right?" Elias hesitated. "I don't know, but I want to find out." They decided to paint again, the same sunset from the same place, but with one change. Each would try to see through the eyes of the other. The day passed slowly. The sun hung higher, patient and watchful, as though waiting to see what they would learn. Elias began first, mixing lighter tones, soft pinks, pale yellows, colors he hadn't used in years. It felt foreign at first, even foolish. But as he painted, he noticed things he had ignored before. The play of light on leaves, the way the valley glowed even in silence, the quiet joy and stillness. Meanwhile, Rowan painted differently too. His strokes slowed, deeper, more deliberate. For once, he didn't rush to fill the canvas with brightness. He allowed the shadows to breathe, the darker shades to have their voice. He saw how the sunset's beauty was born from contrast, that the gold meant nothing without the gray. When the day ended, they stepped back from their easels. Neither spoke for a long time. Elias's painting was still gentle, but this time, light had returned to it. Soft, hesitant, like a first smile after grief. Rowan's canvas, though still bright, carried a calm depth it had never known before. Rowan looked at Elias's work and said quietly, "There's warmth in your night." Elias nodded toward Rowan's and replied, "And there's truth in your light." They sat together, watching the valley sink into the hush of dusk. "I think I understand now," Rowan whispered. Elias turned. "Understand what?" That the world isn't just one thing. It's not only sadness or joy, shadow or flame. It's both. Always both. The sky doesn't choose sides. Only we do. Elias smiled faintly, his eyes softening. Maybe that's what he meant, that our paintings were only mirrors, that what we see depends on what we bring. For the first time in a long while, Elias felt no heaviness in his chest. The valley before him was neither cruel nor kind. It simply was. And in that quiet acceptance, something inside him healed. As night fell, the two painters packed their brushes. The last light faded from the hills, leaving only the silver of stars. They walked home side by side, no longer needing to prove who saw more clearly, because somehow both had learned to see differently. The next morning arrived with a mist that softened everything. The hills, the trees, even the memory of yesterday's sunset. Elias and Rowan returned once more to the same spot by the oak tree, as if drawn by something unfinished. But the old man was gone. His footprints had long been erased by the wind, leaving only an empty bench by the path. They sat there in silence for a while, watching the fog lift from the valley. Then Elias noticed something carved faintly into the wooden bench, half covered by moss. He brushed it gently, revealing a line of words so delicate it seemed almost alive. The world reflects the colors of your heart. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The sentence felt like a whisper from the man himself, left behind as a final brushstroke of wisdom. Rowan exhaled softly. So it was never really about the sunset, he said. Elias nodded, his gaze distant. No, it was about how we saw it. The truth unfolded slowly, like dawn spreading across the valley. They began to understand. The world they painted was not merely a collection of shapes and colors, but a reflection of what they carried within. Joy painted gold, sorrow painted gray. Peace and pain could exist in the same horizon, but it was the heart that decided which one to see. Elias looked down at his hands, still stained with traces of both dark and light paint. I used to think the world had lost its beauty, he said quietly. But maybe it was I who stopped looking for it. Rowan smiled, eyes glistening. And I thought beauty was everywhere. I forgot that pain is part of it too. They both laughed softly, not out of amusement, but understanding. There was no right or wrong painting, only two mirrors, each showing a different truth. As the sun broke through the clouds, Elias felt warmth touch his face, the same warmth he had ignored for so long. He finally realized that the world had not changed overnight. Only his eyes had. Rowan closed his sketchbook and said, "Maybe that's what art really is. Not the act of capturing what we see, but of learning to see differently." Elias smiled, repeating the words slowly, as if committing them to memory. To see differently. In that quiet morning, two painters discovered that beauty and sorrow are not opposites, they are companions. And once the heart accepts both, every sunset, every shadow, every fleeting moment becomes a masterpiece. As evening returned, Elias and Rowan stood again before the valley, their easels empty, their hearts full. The sun began its descent just as it always did, slow, silent, unhurried. But this time, the two painters did not reach for their brushes. They simply watched. The light spilled across the hills in a language beyond words. The same colors painted the sky as before, amber, rose, violet, but they no longer argued over what those colors meant. Elias saw peace in the dying glow, and Rowan, for the first time, saw beauty in the quiet sorrow of twilight. Neither was wrong. Both were whole. The valley below seemed to breathe with them, as if understanding their stillness. The trees swayed softly. The air shimmered gold. And in that perfect moment, they realized that life is not meant to be understood from one side. It is a tapestry woven of opposites: loss and joy, shadow and light, ending and beginning. Elias turned to Rowan, his voice gentle. All this time I thought painting was about capturing beauty. Rowan smiled. And I thought it was about creating it. Maybe. It's simply about seeing it. The sun dipped lower, a final brushstroke of brilliance stretching across the valley. And there, under that fading sky, two artists finally understood that every heart paints its own world. Because beauty is not what we find, it's what we choose to see. So when the next sunset comes and the world stands still for a moment, remember, the scene before you is not just the end of a day. It's a reflection of what lives inside you. Perhaps the art of living is simply learning to see beauty differently. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who might need a new way to see the world. Because sometimes, all it takes is a shift in perspective to turn sorrow into peace and endings into light. Tell them about the two painters, how one saw loss and the other found calm, and remind them that both were right. Because truth has many colors. And if you'd like to hear more stories that awaken the soul and help you see life with gentler eyes, subscribe to Inspire Through Stories, where every tale is a mirror to the heart.